In just 2 weeks, we've seen proof that the Air National Guard Unlimited Hydroplane season will be packed with power and performance. But even the slightest mistake can turn your best day into a wreck. Last week, the series charged into Detroit to chase the oldest trophy in motorsports, the Gold Cup. New teams, new talent, and thrilling side-by-side racing resulted in a new record, the 63rd career win for Dave Villwock. Now the scene shifts to Washington State and a river with a bad temper. Welcome to round 3 of the Air National Guard Unlimited Hydroplane Series. Today, it's the Columbia Cup on the Columbia River in TriCities, Washington. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Weber. Thanks for having us in for the race. The Columbia Cup has a combination of history and highlights that runs deep into the heart of hydroplane racing. Gold Cup winners have sparkled here. Jim McCormick and Bill Muncie, Chip Hanauer and Dean Chenoweth, Tom DeEath and Terry Troxel all conquer the Columbia River. Former champions and current stars Dave Villwock and Steve David have won the last 7 races here, but that's just part of the story. Past national champions Jim Kropfeld, Mickey Riemann, and Scott Pierce combined for 40 career victories, but they never won here. Reigning series champion Steve David has won the last 3 races on this river. This weekend, he returns to the cockpit for the first time since his wreck in the final heat at Madison. My partner, Mike Allen, is with him.
Thank you, Bill. Steve, good to have you back with us. First of all, walk us through what happened in Madison.
Well, Mike, great to be back, obviously, with the whole family of the hydroplane racers. In Madison, the 96 hit a real bad hole in the river and went left, and I was only 80 feet behind, and so basically T-boned the boat. When we did, oh boy, Alberto corkscrew landed right side up, but as it hit the impact, the seat belts broke my lower left ribs here, so unfortunately I had to miss the APBA Gold Cup, but I'm back here in TriCities, Washington, and really because of the good folks at Design 500 in Seattle, Washington, they made a special rib protector for me, and what it is, it's molded polycarbonate pieces in this vest, and I wear this. These help hold it in real tight around me, kind of like so, and what that does, it disperses the energy. So I'm not really taking it in the ribs, and I tell you, I felt no pain at all Friday and Saturday running. I'm still doing all my push-ups, still doing all my rowing machines, so thanks to James and the people there who care about us racers, I'm still able to go racing again.
Well, obviously, you're in very good shape. We all know that, but unfortunately, got yourself in a little bit of a bind here from Heat 1C.
Yeah, I had a brain fade yesterday, I think. Not having been at Detroit, I got a little bit rusty in the start, and I was ahead of the 1-minute buoy by a second. My fault. There was no need to do it. So today, I'm going to be a little more cautious. We know the Alberto Miss Madison can win this thing. It has for the last 3 years, but I just got to drive smart.
Let's take a look at the driver points coming into this race. Dave Villwock is on top, followed by Jeff Bernard, Scott Liddicoat, Cal Phipps, who drove in Detroit, and then Greg Hopp in the 5th position. Here's the event format. Qualifying points do count. We'll have 3 sets of heats. You can see the points awarded for each position, and the final field will be set by total points collected over the weekend. Now, here are the qualifying results. Dave Villwock on top, getting 100 points, followed by Steve David, then Kip Brown, J.W. Myers, and Jeff Bernard rounding out the top 5. And let's take you through the field for an update, starting with that 5 team. Jeff drives for Graham Trucking. He finished first in his first heat. That was in 1B. He's driving a different hole in 2011, and so far, he likes it.
Glad we made a decision to swap boats this winter. It's didn't have to really get on the front canard that much to bring it down. It's a real forgiving boat, and the crews set it up great. Just loving the decision right now, and hopefully it will keep paying off.
His teammate in the 7 is 39-year-old rookie Scott Liddicoat. He qualified 10th and finished 2nd in Heat 1B. He's had an amazing start to the season, comes in off the 2nd place finish at the Gold Cup. John Zimmerman drove last week in Detroit. This week he's here at TriCities driving the same boat. Drove in relief of Steve David a week ago, qualified 7th, finished 2nd in Heat 1C. Now, here's a team that's been working very hard. The new team, the 11 Peters and May with J.W. Myers. They've struggled through the season. He qualified 4th, but finished 3rd in Heat 1A, a positive sign for that Peters and May number 11. Then there's the 17, the Miss Red Dot. They lead the team high point standings. Kip Brown qualified 3rd, finished 1st in Heat 1C. They are working hard, searching for speed in 2011.
switched motors twice already this weekend. We switched a gearbox. We found our racing combination, and we continue with getting a little luck.
In the 21, driver Brian Perkins. This team slightly underfunded. They continue to work very hard. He was a rookie in 2007. Perkins qualified 8th and finished 3rd in Heat 2B. In the 22, Great Scott presents with Mike Webster in the cockpit. He qualified 6th. He finished 4th in Heat 1B. This team struggled through the first 2 races. They're looking for positive things now that the series has moved to Washington State. Ken Muscatel in the 25 boat has been racing since 1990. He formed this team in 1993. They qualified 13th, but finished 3rd in Heat 1C, a solid run for the 25. Mark Evans is in the 57. He qualified 12th. He finished 4th in Heat 1A and had this very close encounter with Dave Villwock in the 96, but he did get the 4th place finish. J. Michael Kelly drives the 88. The Degree Man, he qualified 9th, finished 2nd in Heat 1A. A very positive result for this brand new team in 2011. And a scary moment for Dave Villwock in the 96. Last lap of practice, the pedal that controls the front wing on the boat broke. Dave got the boat back to the pits. They got it repaired. He qualified 1st. He finished 1st in Heat 1A after a close call with Mark Evans at the start of that heat.
Guys got up a little early, didn't get propeller speed, and, I just got to a place where I could make a good start, and I think Evans did the same thing.
Here are the points after the first round of heats here in Tri-Cities. Dave Villwock is the leader, but look at that 10th position. Steve David, the defending series champion. Long way to go if he hopes to make the final. Second round of heats coming up from Tri-Cities.
In a moment, a person's world can be turned upside down. These are the times when you can deliver one of life's most important gifts, hope. These are the times we prepare for as health professionals in the Air Guard. So explore our website or talk to a recruiter today and discover the challenge, adventure, and excitement of serving your community and country in the Air Guard.
When the world's best go racing on water, they all have one thing in common. Propellers by 5-Axis Industries. Unlimited Hydroplanes, the world's fastest race boats. Class 1, where performance and endurance are put to an incredible test. 5-Axis propellers power champions in offshore, F1, and anywhere else high performance on water means extremely high performance. The world's best rely on propellers from 5-Axis Industries, where technology and craftsmanship come together.
Cut! I have a small part in a big movie. I thought we'd be on location for 3 days. It's been 3 weeks. So I used my City Simplicity card to pick up a few things, and I don't have to worry about a late fee, which is good.
No! Bigger!
Because I don't think we're going anywhere for a while.
Write your story with the new City Simplicity card. No late fees, no penalty rate, no worries. Get started at citysimplicity.com.
Peace of mind of owning a 2011 IIHS top safety pick, the all-new Volkswagen Passat.
With their top-flight passing game, the Arizona State Sun Devils are hot on the trail of their first bowl bid in years. But that trail goes through the Rose Bowl, where the UCLA Bruins are fighting for survival in their division. And there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal. Arizona State at UCLA, Saturday at 6:30. Pac-12 football on Versus.
Coverage of the 2011 Air National Guard Hydroplane Series is brought to you by Air National Guard. Visit goang.com to learn more about exciting opportunities in your area. Valken Sports, get out and play paintball. Check ValkenPaintball.com for a field near you. And by Whispering Turbines, where life begins at 200 miles per hour.
The unlimited hydroplanes back on the water on the Columbia River in Tri-Cities, Washington, getting ready for Heat 2A of the Columbia Cup. We are in Tri-Cities in the southeastern part of Washington State. about a 4-hour drive from Seattle, a couple hours from Spokane. How about taking us around this course, Mike?
Well, first of all, Bill, you said it from the beginning. We're on another river, so guess what? She's going to get choppy in the corners, especially down in this first turn. But we got a high-speed race course this weekend, Bill, and the only thing that drivers will really have to watch for is the amount of wind coming down both of those straightaways.
Steve David, John Zimmerman, J.W. Myers, Kip Brown, Brian Perkins, the 5 drivers in Heat 2A. And the boat's already out on the course, getting ready for the start. What is that?
Wow, slick move already by J-Dub, showing his hand in Heat 2A. He looks like he was not happy with 4 and came into 2. These guys have 5 boat lengths before they can go into another lane and cut off another driver, if you will. But what a move.
It looks like Kip Brown might have gotten washed down in that.
He's trying to get himself back on plane here. Not sure if he's going to make it all the way back around with just 1:10 left to go.
That's the Peters and May countdown clock in the upper left-hand portion of your screen. Steve David also very slow on the course.
Boy, you know, with the amount of time that's left here, Bill, I'm not sure why he was having such issues trying to get it back up on plane, but he's going to have to hustle.
Steve David had a 4th place finish in Heat 1C when he missed the timing buoy. So a 4th place finish putting him in a deep points hole as we get ready for Heat 2A here this afternoon.
Well, she's back up, Bill, but I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up to these guys and make this start. He's running out of time really fast.
There you see Zimmerman on the outside going past Brian Perkins. On board now with Zimmerman. He's got Kip Brown on his right. 22 seconds left on the countdown clock as they come around, getting ready for the start. Headed for the front stretch here.
Keep in mind, the lanes had to be established at the entrance to that turn. So where you are is where you will have to cross that start-finish line.
Trying to time it so they hit that starting line right as the countdown clock comes to 0.
Wow, look at the speed on the outside by Kip Brown. Excellent, excellent start for Kip. Got that speed on the outside. He's going to lead him down to the first turn, and he's really airing that thing out.
The start was legal. All boats are good. Kip Brown coming off a 1st place finish in Heat 1C. Oh!
Wow, Bill, not sure if anybody came over there or if Brian just couldn't make that skid fin hook up, but he definitely got wet down.
So that's going to have to go upstairs, right?
Yeah, no doubt, Bill. The H1 team is upstairs in the helicopters, and they'll be able to make the final call for us.
Kip Brown up front, averaged over 139 miles per hour in winning his earlier heat. Now, we talked about the officials above the race course. In the helicopter, we understand they have assessed a penalty to J.W. Myers in the 11 boat, a 50-point penalty for weaving between boats, weaving through the field, coming to the start. And here's what we're talking about, Mike.
Yeah, right here, this looks like J.W. Myers is going to get hit for those 50 points. And with the competition the way it is nowadays, you really can't afford the 50.
Really looked like he ran up on that field faster than he thought he was going. Yeah. It's going to cost him those 50 points, man. That could be huge before we get to the final.
Could be very big. Beautiful boat ride here. Look at this. Typical hydroplane. 2 points and that bottom half of that propeller in the rear of the boat.
On board with Brian Perkins. And the boat right on his wing. That's the Oh Boy Alberto of Steve David.
Steve had a problem getting that thing going before the start of this heat, but he's got it rolling now.
On board with Brian Perkins, and here comes David in the Oh Boy Alberto, and this is big for Steve, passing boats, picking up points. Meanwhile, Kip Brown is the race leader, and his team leads in the national high point standings.
Unexpected for sure, but we've been ready to rock, you know, since the beginning of the year, and some of the other guys have been a little slow to get their act together. And, you know, some problems obviously with the 2 real fast guys getting together there that first weekend, and we've been there to pick up the pieces.
The first weekend it was Kip in the boat. Last time out, Cal Phipps in Detroit. Team having a magnificent season. There's Steve David trying to chase down J.W. Myers for position and more points.
Talking about airing it out, he's going to do everything he can because he needs the best possible finish in this heat.
J.W. Myers sold his construction business, is now a co-owner of this boat with Scott and Shannon Rainey. Brand new team this season, did a lot of work on that boat in the offseason. David trying to make the pass on the outside, J.W. Myers trying to hold him off.
And guess what, Bill? We're back on the river. That water is rough all the way through that first turn.
Not just rough, but here's an example of how tight it is. We saw Brian Perkins get washed down at the start when he lost his lane. This is later in the race at the other end of the course.
That's quite a few washdowns in one heat. Next time out, he should bring a bar of soap.
35-year-old Kip Brown looking for another win.
Right here, the crew's telling him from shore, keep that thing down, keep it safe. We need these 400 points to get into the final.
And he's going to get him another heat win for Kip Brown, his second of the weekend. Now, Steve David's going to come home second, but we're hearing from the officials that David is going to be penalized for encroachment. He's going to be dropped to 5th place points, and that encroachment call could explain some of the problems that Brian Perkins had during this heat. So Steve David, who struggled in his first heat, now penalized in his second heat. That's going to leave him in a desperate situation when we get to the third round of heats here this afternoon. So here's a look at the results. Kip does get the win. You see J.W. Myers in second, penalized 50 points in that heat, and Steve David dropped from second to 5th, leaving him in a big hole. Plenty of speed here in Tri-Cities over the Columbia River. Lots of aerial activities of all shapes, sizes, and speeds. Plenty of piston power in the air. Hey, piston power on the water. These vintage hydroplanes making a visit to Tri-Cities. For more on these boats, let's check in with Lindsay Guthrie.
There's a long and rich history in hydroplane racing, and the state of Washington is home to the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum, a facility dedicated to keeping these historic boats on the water. And surprisingly enough, it's a couple of young guys leading the charge.
I was involved in the restorations of 4 of the 5 boats here. They're fast, they're loud, we have no seat belts, no driver protection, so it's a wild ride for sure.
I unfortunately grew up with a bunch of motorheads, so I kind of got drug into it, and it's just been a fascination to go fast on water. Basically totally restored the boat, replaced half the deck on the boat, all the fasteners are new, tons and tons of hours. I mean, we were working from 11 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the morning doing, repainting the boat. How many people get to stand there and say, I get to drive an unlimited hydroplane at 160 miles an hour, and I got 2,000 horsepower at my fingertips.
These are all World War II fighter engines out here, just like what used to race in the 50s and 60s. And we're going to have a lot of fun and make a lot of noise.
Kip, you led that thing wire to wire. You don't necessarily have to be on the inside to win, do you?
Well, that was another lucky break for us because I put my own fire out coming up there creeping for the start. I took a little spray in off of my sponson, and man, I got her spooled back up, and everybody was lagging back, and I'm like, I'm going, it's time, and it was awesome, man. We hit the starting line at full song, and I got the go-ahead from Nate to go to lane 2, and then coming out of the first turn, I got the go-ahead into lane 1, and you know what that's like, man. That's all she wrote.
Now we approach Heat 2B, scoring a hotshot rookie here in Tri-Cities.
He's my boyfriend.
That's my dad.
My son.
He's my hero.
The Air Guard, Battlefield Airman.
If you're going to build a fuel-efficient car, the first thing you got to do is make a car that's worth building, that has all the luxury you'd expect. Then you put in an 8-speed transmission that gets 31 miles per gallon. That combination of luxury and efficiency only comes from one place in the world. Now lease the all-new 2011 Chrysler 300 for $339 a month for well-qualified lessees.
I don't care what it takes, but we'll make things right.
This is gonna be good.
The mate's gone rogue.
Oh, we got a dangler!
You start foaming up at the mouth and your eyes go crooked. It was very scary.
Tower Heist, rated PG-13.
I was having so much trouble getting around, I thought, end of the line, I was headed to a nursing home. Well, I'm staying in my own home now because we chose Hover-Round.
Hover-Round's compact, round design makes it easier for you to maneuver through the tight spaces in your home. And best of all, 9 out of 10 people pay little or nothing for their Hover-Round. So call now, and you can be the next to pay
0. I paid nothing for the unit at all.
And now, only from Hoveround, every power chair includes a handy tote bag, so you'll always have access to your favorite items, and this sturdy cup holder, so your favorite beverage can ride along with you.
The folks at Hoveround really thought of everything. That's why I called them, and so should you. Call them right now.
Call 1-800-631-5104 for your free DVD information kit and free mobility consultation. 1-800-631-5104.
Do you live and breathe Pac-12 football? Are you looking for the most local coverage of your favorite Pac-12 teams? Then kick off your Saturday mornings with Game Day.
Welcome to my world.
Expert analysis and on-location reporting with the Godfather himself, Dwight James.
I've seen so many of them, it's hard to keep the game straight.
Comcast Sportsnet brings you a brand new Game Day destination. College Football Game Day. Saturday morning from 9 to 11. Only on Comcast Sportsnet.
Welcome back to Tri-Cities. Before we go back to racing, let's eavesdrop on Kip Brown and his crew chief, boat owner, and uncle, Nate Brown, on their performance here in Heat 2A.
How'd the boat feel once you got around everybody?
That was great. You know, first turn's junk, as usual. Yeah, the rest of the race course is good. Overall, boat ride was great. Steering was great. Little bit of torque in the third lap. We might want to check that castle nut on the rudder.
Okay.
So
too much? You want it tighter then?
A little bit tighter. Yeah, just
so
because
you're able to turn okay
it seemed to actually loosen up as we went. I could notice some torque in the third lap that I didn't notice in the first and second.
The fin too, the fin moved at all?
Maybe. Yeah. We ran 9:13 this morning.
Right.
And
we ran 10-1 this time.
And 10-1, and we ran 10-1 in qualifying yesterday.
Right.
9:13, what I noticed was a little bit more transom lift, a little bit less lift in the front. And so with a given wing position, running the wing at neutral, then the boat was a little bit more stuck. Now I could roll over on the up, and I could bring the nose up, but I like the way 10-1's working.
Even with the prop out of the water, the N2 was down about 3%.
Yeah.
So my whole goal there was to try to test the N2 to see if we could get it spin up. We don't have the right ratio to play with the big boys.
Right.
So, all we can do is keep running that 10-1. 11-5 should be okay, but we'll run that thin potato chip in the final heat if we make it.
The X.
The X prop.
All right, cool. I'm in.
Okay, as we get ready for Heat 2B here, translate all that for me, would you?
Basically, Bill, that was great communication between a driver and a crew chief, and they were talking specifically about propellers, how they performed earlier versus what they're going to use later for the final. And if you heard him, he talked about a specific propeller that was potato chip thin.
And thin to win, right?
Thin to win.
All right, we'll see how it works out for him later on when the final comes up here in Tri-Cities. It's a 4-boat heat with Jeff Bernard, Scott Liddycoat. Those two are teammates, the 5 and the 7. That's on board with Liddycoat there. Greg Hopp in the 100. And they're joined by Ken Muscatel in the 25. Those are our GoPro onboard cameras this afternoon.
Jeff doing everything he can here. I think he did a little bit of a leapfrog. He's pretty good at getting lane 1 no matter what the circumstances are prior to the start, and he's settled into it again today.
And he's got Scott Liddycoat, his teammate. Looks like Scott's in lane 2. Yep.
Yes, he is, Bill. I don't think there's any room for another boat to come in there.
Greg Hopp trailing the field a little bit, but he'll start in lane 3. And this is interesting because you've got two teammates here in the 5 and the 7, in Bernard and Liddycoat. They both want the points, they both want to win, but they don't want to be in a situation where they put each other in peril.
No, you don't want to take yourselves out, Bill. And I can tell you for sure that when these guys left the dock, there was no plan in there as far as who was going to get lane 1 or 2, or who was going to finish 1 or 2. This is an all-out battle.
It's a good start. All boats are legal as they charge into turn 1 here in Tri-Cities.
Great head of steam by Greg Hopp here. As you can see, he nailed that clock, carried a tremendous amount of speed through the first turn, but Jeff's got the shorter way around the track.
Really hugs the inside. When you get in lane 1, you really got to sit in there tight, don't you?
You do. You don't have any room for error. You got to stay on the pins. Even if you hop out a lane and you impede someone else's line, you're going to get fined.
Scott Liddycoat, theValcon.com.
Great boat race here. Supposedly, Bill, the boat on the outside should be a little bit faster, but the boat on the inside with Jeff Bernard is probably going to be the quickest way around.
The skid fin dinks into the water, kicking those rooster tails high up into the air. Back back down the front stretch.
Great battle here. There's Scott on the outside, and I can guarantee you Jeff's doing everything possible in that cockpit to fly that boat and make it as fast as he can.
Jeff finished third in the final here last year, had a second here 2 years ago, and a third back in 2008. They are side by side. Now Liddicoat edging forward. On board with Bernard.
Here comes that rough water all the way through this first turn. That river's really kicking up now that we've got some boats out running.
Averaging over 147 miles an hour. So they're topping out around 190, maybe 195, 200 here in Tri-Cities.
Yeah, I would say real close to 200 at the end of the straightaways, especially into the wind.
2.5 mile course. These are teammates battling for the lead and the 400 points.
They aren't talking to each other. They're talking directly back to the guys on shore, and they're telling them, do not lift.
Exit the turn, and here comes the 7 again, Liddicoat.
Well, you can see the chute speed. A little bit of a difference here with the Vulcan boat. It's, I'd say it's got about a mile or two on top of him. Oh! At the end of the straightaway, both guys airing them out. Man, are they loose.
You would think this is the final.
You would think, and they're running it like it is. Jeff staying just far enough outside of those pins in case that right sponsor wants to dip in. He's got a little bit of room to correct it.
Another lap over 147 miles per hour in average speed. Down the backstretch one more time.
There's no feeling, Bill, when you look to your right or you look to your left and you're giving it all you got, and the boat is still right next to you.
There's a little more give than take, though, when you're racing your teammate.
Yeah, you know, theoretically, they should be giving you a little bit of room, and Scott's giving him plenty of room here, so there's not going to be any issues through these corners today.
Scott Liddicoat, a 39-year-old rookie, just his third race in an unlimited hydroplane. But he has a ton of experience at other levels, and he's going to come by and take the win.
They're definitely rolling at the ends of these straightaways, Bill. You know how fast these guys are going. This is a football field per second.
And fun to watch. 400 points for Scott Liddicoat. Jeff Bernard comes home second, then Greg Hopp and Ken Muscatel. At the race course is a Veterans Memorial, and each week in every race, we salute the men and women that protect our freedoms abroad and here at home. Let's meet our hometown hero.
Well, I'm from here. I grew up here. I went to high school. I can relate to everybody. Desert Hills Middle School to Kamiakin High School. I went to Spokane Falls Community College and decided to join the Air Force. I went overseas to England. Always wanted to get back to my home state. Joined the Air National Guard in 2004. Finally got a promotion opportunity here in Washington, and I was able to bring the hydroplanes here. In 2009, I took over the position. I said, please trust me, come out and see this area. It's beautiful. 15,000 students within a 20-mile radius that we're not talking to. So they didn't buy off the first year. The second year, 2010, they actually brought out our big mobile recruiting unit. Loved it. We have a captain, Captain Barry, who's in charge of advertising. He got to ride in a boat. Next thing I know, we're sponsoring H1.
Very rewarding, isn't it?
Very rewarding. It's part-time, 1 weekend a month. You get to give back to your community and your country. And you feel like you're doing a little bit more. Plus, you get a skill out of it. It's free training. So you can equate that to any civilian job, especially around this area where a lot of mechanical jobs are. We can train you for free. So I'm giving back to the community that gave so much to me.
And we thank all the men and women of the Air National Guard. Great crowd on hand here on the Columbia River. And they just saw two teammates battling it out. When we come back, we'll hear from Jeff Bernard and Scott Liddicoat.
Oh, here's the...
Play. Go to VulcanPaintball.com.
Formula Powerboats, born of innovation and superb design, executed to deliver the ride, performance, and amenities you expect. Formula Sun Sports and Super Sports define dayboating adventure. Formula yachts and performance cruisers, striking and luxurious. And Fast Tech Hull technology powers you to big water high performance. For a world-class boating experience, contact your Formula dealer or visit formulaboats.com today.
It all starts out peacefully, doesn't it?
We must have the most advanced force in the world.
Order the wires.
Is that legal?
Who else knows about this? Blood is on your hands, Edgar. I don't know who I can trust.
I see right through you. You're a scared little man. Please don't leave me. I'm begging you.
Even great men can be corrupted, can't they?
J. Edgar, rated R. In theaters November 11th.
Can't stop me, no, you can't stop me. Can't stop me, no, you can't stop me.
You want to save money on car insurance? No problem. You want to save money on RV insurance? No problem. You want to save money on motorcycle insurance? No problem. You want to find a place to park all these things? Forget about it. This is New York.
Hey, little guy, wake up.
Oh, come off it, mate.
Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance.
With their top flight passing game, the Arizona State Sun Devils are hot on the trail of their first bowl bid in years. But that trail goes through the Rose Bowl, where the UCLA Bruins are fighting for survival in their division. And there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal. Arizona State at UCLA, Saturday at 6:30. Pac-12 football on Versus.
Lots of fans on the land and near the water here in Tri-Cities on a hot and sunny race day afternoon. Boats heading back out onto the river for more racing action. Before we go out there, let's go to Mike with the guys from Heat 2B.
A lot of fun, guys, and again, that deck-to-deck battle, it doesn't matter if it's a teammate or not. That's just a lot of fun.
Oh, it was pretty awesome, and knowing it's Jeff, it's going to be a clean heat, and I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that heat is probably the best heat I've ever had. Me and you had a couple heats and like that, and me and Steve David. It's nice going into a heat where you can trust the guy on your outside to leave you a lane, and I'll tell you what, I did everything I could. That was 3 laps of full throttle for probably both of us. I know it was for me, and I just couldn't do it.
Well, nice work, guys. Well, I'm sure we'll see you in the final.
Thank you.
Hope so. Thanks. Nice job.
Getting ready to go back to racing, but first, here again is Nate Brown with a little technology behind speed.
He's coming up here, he's getting the max speed, but he's putting it in the wing and it's diving real quick. And you see this one here, it's a little bit less slope. Like this one here, see a lot less wing and more speed in the corner.
Good
so
point.
I think I can get him to do some of that stuff. So
this is kind of interesting too. You can click on this and it'll show you the map. And as we scroll through the data, you can see the boat position.
Yeah, you can see where the boat is and what the part of the corner.
The slowest part of the race is right at the end of the corner.
Cool.
Fastest is at the end of the straightaway. Let me slow down again. Speed up.
Basically, that's where a computer can make a liar out of a driver real quick.
Drivers don't lie, do they?
I never did.
I'm sure. Heat 2C on board with J. Michael Kelly in the 88-degree men. This was a boat that's struggling again this weekend. Crew Chief Jim Harvey said they were getting better, but he still wasn't happy with the ride of that boat. Here's a guy that's always happy with the ride of his boat, Dave Vilwack. No catching him here in Heat 2C. 400 more points for Dave Vilwack. J. Michael Kelly gets second, Mike Webster third, and Mark Evans comes home fourth. Now here are the points after 2 rounds of racing in Tri-Cities. Vilwack on top of the standings. The name not seen there, Steve David, all the way down in 12th. And he's going to need a win and a lot of help here in the 3rd round if he's going to make the winner-take-all final. He's in 3A along with John Zimmerman, Mike Webster, J. Michael Kelly, and Greg Hopp. Again, a 2.5-mile course here on the Columbia River. And this should be an exciting heat. Steve David has to get it done here.
He does have to get it done here, Bill, and fortunately for him, he doesn't have a lot of the hot hitters in his heat.
You see our GoPro onboard cameras, J. Michael Kelly. There's Steve David. Even if he gets 400 points here, he's still not guaranteed of making the final. Peters and May countdown clock is at 10 as they approach the start-finish line here on the Columbia River. Steve with a good start. He's going to try and time it perfectly. Wow, right on it.
Doesn't get much better than that, Bill. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. He had to hit that line flying.
Man on a mission here.
Man on a mission is correct. He's not looking behind. He's got to do everything he can and then hope everybody else falls in place behind him.
David missed time to start in his first heat, was penalized in his second heat.
J. Michael Kelly did not have the straightaway speed this weekend for qualifying. As you can see, he needs that inside just to be anywhere near the front.
Steve David, defending series champion. 13 career wins. In danger of missing the final. The 100 of Greg Hopp. This boat has some speed on the straightaways, not the best in the turns, as we've talked about.
Great shoot speed from Greg Hopp, but when he gets into those corners, the width of that boat is not like everybody else, and it just won't pack as much air.
Skid fin digs in, the rooster tail soars in the air, and Steve David sets off down the straightaway.
You just saw that. Wow.
That's Zimmerman on his left, and that's going to wash down Greg Hopp.
That right there, Bill, was enough to put this thing out. You can see the flames coming out of the tube in the back there.
There you see the lead for Steve David. J. Michael Kelly, 88, the green man on the inside.
There you see the 22 of Mike Webster on the outside there. Mike's been plagued with mechanical issues all year long, but this weekend they may have gotten it together.
Good run for him, better run for that man, Steve David. Again, you can't emphasize this enough. You get 400 points for the win. He needs these 400 points, and then he needs help from some other guys to make the final. Good run here for J. Michael Kelly, another team that has struggled. Now there's Webster. He's 31 years old. Been racing since he was the age of 10. His dad is basically the owner / commander of this team, with veteran John Walters as his crew chief. And there's the Oh Boy Oberto, and that boat Webster's driving is the old backup for the Oh Boy Oberto team.
Backup boat, Bill, but a very good one at that.
That's for sure.
The Oberto did very well with that boat.
This boat Steve David is in has been rebuilt since the accident in Madison in the season opener. The team worked very hard to get this boat back on the water, and it's probably not as easy to drive as it was before the wreck, because when you rebuild something, you try and get it back to where it was.
Mike Hansen said they added about 150 pounds to the boat, mostly to the left side, so Steve's going to have to compensate for that little bit.
And they really just worked on pieces and parts to get the boat here. They didn't have time to make improvements or anything like that.
No, under these time constraints, these guys just had to get the boat back to where it was before the crash.
That boat may look the same, but it certainly doesn't ride the same. But when you got a guy like Steve David in the cockpit, that's the guy that's going to be able to give you the feedback to say, hey, it's doing this, it needs to do that. You can move some weight around, maybe make it better for the final.
Yes, Steve's very good at giving the information. And don't forget, Mike Hansen, who's the crew chief, was a driver at one time, so there's great communication between those two.
Steve David's going to get it done. Checkered flag in the air, and Steve David's going to take the win and the 400 points. You see that boat on the right? That's Greg Hopp. He got that boat restarted. This is J. Michael Kelly coming home for his second place finish. A good run for him, and 300 points for the Degree Man boat. And coming home third, Mike Webster. And that's a very positive move forward for this team, 225 points. Zimmerman was fourth, and Greg Hopp finished fifth. Hey, the excitement is just beginning for the Air National Guard Series.
As a health professional, you hear it. A call to serve others in need. This is the sound of giving back. The beat of a glorious heart. The voice of honor. Duty. Heroism. Do you hear it? If you're a health professional that hears the call, make the call.
Emily's just starting out and on a budget, like a ramen noodle every night budget. She thought Allstate car insurance was out of her reach until she heard about the value plan. Shop less, get more. Make one call to an Allstate agent.
Capital One's new Cash Rewards card gives you a 50% annual bonus, so you earn 50% more cash. According to research, everybody likes more cash. Well, almost everybody. Would you like 50% more cash? No. But it's more money.
The new Capital One Cash Rewards card. The card for people who want 50% more cash.
What's in your wallet? Whoa!
It's our weekend. Should we spend it wandering in some home improvement warehouse? No. Say we go to Ace. Yeah. Get help when we walk in the door. Because we will maintain our homes and our weekend.
Get your weekend back at Ace, the helpful place.
It's time for the Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance. Your last chance for incredible deals on the best machines of 2011. Get up to $1,000 in rebates and financing as low as 2.99% on legendary Sportsman, powerful Rangers, and razor-sharp razors. Hurry to your local participating Polaris dealer and get up to $1,000 in rebates and financing as low as 2.99%. The Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance, going on now while supplies last.
Lots of fans from TriCities, Washington, here at the Air National Guard Unlimited Hydroplane Series. The TriCities being Richland, Pasco, and Kennewick. They've come by land and by water. And speaking of on the water, Steve David doing what he needs to do and pick up some points. Here's Mike.
Steve, who knows how the points are going to shake out, but you did exactly what you needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I should have done all 3 heats. This was just a bad weekend for me. The team gave me a great boat. They rebuilt that thing in 21 days, and they made some changes, and I should have adapted faster to those changes because you have to drive the race boat that's given you, not the one that you think you used to have. So really, everything fell on, the blame is on my shoulders, not the team's. If we make the final, it's by the grace of God. If not, we're going to go to Seattle and defend our championship next weekend.
Oh, if he makes the final, it's really going to be up to some other guys. Here's the scenario, and basically, Steve David has to hope some guys don't fare very well in these next 2 heats.
And nobody will watching these heats closer than the driver of the one.
So in 3B, here's how it played out. A 4-boat heat with Kip Brown, Brian Perkins, Mark Evans, and Ken Muscatel. For Kip Brown, another strong afternoon and another first-place finish. This our gang team, the Miss Red Dot team, basically an all-volunteer team, continues to perform marvelously on the water. 400 points for Kip. Brian Perkins got a 2nd-place finish. Then Mark Evans, Ken Muscatel finished 4th, so that worked out well for Steve David. In Heat 3C, Steve has to hope J.W. Myers does not run at the front of this 4-boat pack. This is on board with Scott Liddicoat. He's in this heat with his teammate Jeff Bernard and Dave Vilwack. And look at this action early in the heat. That was tight racing, but it was Vilwack with another successful heat. Won all his heats here at Tri-Cities. 400 more points. The victory for Dave Vilwack in Heat 3C. Bernard 2nd, Liddicoat 3rd. That dumps J.W. Myers down to 4th, and that will put Steve David in the final. David 6th, the final boat to make the heat on points. Now, before we go back to racing, Steve Montgomery has a shady story about racing in Tri-Cities.
One of the most sought-after prizes in unlimited hydroplane racing is a tree, affectionately known as the Bernie tree. The late Bernie Little always parked his Budweiser team under this tree, the only shade in the entire Tri-Cities pit area. And when word got to Bernie that the tree was not doing well and would have to come out, he said, do whatever it takes to save the tree, send me the bill. So the tree is alive and well, and one of the best things about winning the Columbia Cup, the following year, you park under the Bernie tree.
And we all miss the late Bernie Little, the very successful owner of Miss Budweiser, many driver and team championships, and 14 Gold Cups. Now, let's check in with Lindsay. She's back in the driver's seat.
You know, many folks dream about driving one of these unlimited hydroplanes, but if you're checkbook challenged like a lot of us, you may have to scale back your dreams.
Our goal is to scale these down based off the real hydroplanes that do race in the Tri-City area. The only real difference you see is ours run to the right instead of the left.
Just like their big brothers, the radio control boats start battling before the start.
That's the best part of the race is the milling and the fighting, and we keep that. We have 3 minutes to get out there and start running around, and we can cut the course up until 6 seconds. We can cut from the front stretch to the back stretch and just try to hit the starting line at 0.
This is a busy weekend for Dave, especially when you consider his regular job.
I work for the Washington State Patrol as a trooper, and then in the Tri-City areas, this is one of our biggest weekends of the year, so I'm just kind of sacrificing a little bit of sleep so I can go out and work tonight and take care of that. But it's a good job, and it gives me some time with my family to do this fun hobby here.
Time to get ready for the final. And how about a good luck kiss from Tiffany to her husband, Kip?
Get out and play. Go to VulcanPaintball.com.
Formula Powerboats, Born of innovation and superb design, executed to deliver the ride, performance, and amenities you expect. Formula Sun Sports and Super Sports define day-boating adventure. Formula yachts and performance cruisers, striking and luxurious. And Fast Tech Hull technology powers you to big water high performance. For a world-class boating experience, contact your Formula dealer or visit formulaboats.com today.
Every week on NFL Turning Point,
That's the way you take over a game!
we take you inside
Put the dagger in him.
the game's most critical moments. NFL Turning Point, Thursday night at 10 on Versus.
This one works.
The price sure doesn't.
I'm tired of shopping around.
Too bad you're not buying car insurance.
Like that's easy.
Oh, it is. Progressive Direct showed me their rates and the rates of their competitors. I saved hundreds when switching.
You could use hundreds.
Yeah.
Wake up and smell the savings.
Out there with a better way. Now that's Progressive.
Comcast introduces interactive television on Comcast Digital Cable. Interactive television allows you to actively participate in your television viewing and gives you access to exclusive products and services in your area. When you see the unique interactive banner at the bottom of your screen, simply press the select button on your remote to view additional information, special offers, and much more. Take control of your viewing experience and unlock the interactive features of the next generation of cable television.
This month on Xfinity On Demand from Comcast, The Bite Cooks is back for its 7th season. Xfinity and Groupon bring 18 celebrity chefs from your favorite local restaurants directly to your living room. They're cooking up some fun, fresh from the Bite of Seattle, brought to you by Comcast. Look for new episodes in the coming month as local chefs work their magic. Watch anytime the mood for food hits you. The Bite Cooks, just a taste of what's available for free, exclusively on Xfinity On Demand from Comcast.
6 boats on the front row and 1 trailer here in the final in Tri-Cities, handicapped this morning.
Looking at this list, Bill, there's 4 guys that could win it, but I think I'd want to be in the lane where Dave Vilwalk's located right now.
He's had a very successful day. Now look at this camera shot.
This is great. This is the first time we're showing this. Throttle pedal on the right. This is underneath in the cockpit. The left pedal will bring the boat back down. That middle pedal will bring the boat up and out of the water.
So those 2 left pedals control the front wing.
You're constantly moving those tip pedals back and forth the entire race.
We'll watch that in the final. Now look at these boats fighting for lanes. I wouldn't call it fighting for lanes. It's more like trolling for lanes. These guys, this is Bill Watt, very slow right now. And as you can see behind him, some guys are going to come charging up from the rear here and try and gain position.
Wow, that was a pretty good move by Steve David right there. He had the boat lengths to do it. And if I'm not mistaken, he's probably going to come around for a flying start.
On board with Jeff Bernard.
But guess what? Somebody may be beating him to the punch from the outside. There's Bernard with a ton of boat speed coming up. He could be looking to leapfrog the entire field.
Kip Brown wanted lane 1. He's got lane 1. He's had a very successful afternoon. Still a minute to go before the start. All boats were legal at the scoring pin.
You saw Kip Brown take off. He doesn't want anybody to take that lane 1 away from him. Jeff Bernard trying real hard on the outside, but it's not going to be there.
You have to have 5 boat lengths to move over at this point. Whoa! Vilwalk.
Wow, I don't know if Dave did that on his own or if he was cut off.
I think that was Jeff Bernard that was in front of him there. This is Kip Brown in lane 1. Vilwalk now looking for a lane, moving back into lane 4, it looks like.
Well, you're supposed to establish that lane before the entrance of that turn, so maybe Dave went back in figuring that's the lane he needed to be in.
18, 17 seconds left to go. That's the trailer, Brian Perkins in the Albert Lee machine. Coming up on 10 seconds. 6 unlimited hydroplanes spread out across the Columbia River. Charging toward the green flag in the winner-take-all final in Tri-Cities. Green flag in the air. It's a legal start. All boats are good. Kip Brown on the inside, but look at the speed on the outside.
Steve Davis got so much speed, Bill, that he was able to come across with the 7-boat overlap and jump down into lane 2 before anybody could get there.
That's amazing. Very impressive. Scott Liddycoat in the 7th. Getting washed down, scrubbing off some speed.
Wow, a lot of speed there, Bill, a lot of speed.
There's your race leader, Steve David. 57 years old, defending series champion, has had a disappointing weekend trying to hold off Dave Villwock in the 96.
And Bill, I bet right now Steve David wished they were running a 3-lap heat instead of a 5-lap because he's got some heat on the outside.
That heat being applied by Villwock. Here's David. Moving through the turn. And fast speeds here.
Boat's loose all the way through, and you know this guy's going to be all over the wing trying to fly it.
David averaged over 146 miles an hour when he won Heat 3A. Mike, you look at these two boats that are racing up front. Villwock's boat broke earlier in the weekend. They had to fix the canard pedal. And David's basically driving a rebuild boat for the first time.
Yeah, a little bit of difference here, but wow. I'm not sure why Villwock came out so far on that one there, but he lost a lot of ground.
Might have been anticipating Steve was going to move him out there a little bit.
Yeah, Dave Villwock staying right on Steve David's hip.
And that's really where he needs to be. It's on board with Brian Perkins. That Scott Liddicoat got washed out earlier in the heat. Wow, through some really rough water there.
Really rough water, but Scott's doing everything he can to gain those spots that he lost back earlier.
When you're running at the back of the pack, it's a mess back there, isn't it?
It's one of the worst, Bill. I don't know how to explain it. It's like riding a bull back there.
There's your leader, Steve David, on the inside, and here comes Villwock on the outside. This basically looks like Madison. Hopefully it doesn't have the same conclusion.
It does, and boy, I tell you what, a quarter of the way down the straightaway, the Spirit of Qatar was all aired out, trying everything he can to catch that Oboyo Birdo.
Now when they get down to the turn, oh my gosh.
Guess who's also on the wing?
Villwock's going to be right on his hip when they get to the turn.
Yeah, you just want to keep that spray just to the left-hand side of the windshield so that you can make a move and react as soon as the boat that's ahead of you.
This is for the lead. Steve David on the left. You're on board with Dave Villwock on the Spirit of Qatar. He's the winningest driver in the history of unlimited hydroplane racing. Right now, trying to take the lead away from David. David has the lane advantage, but it looks like Villwock has the speed advantage.
Yeah, the only thing Steve David can do right here, Bill, is to drive his race and put Dave Villwock wherever he wants. But when he gets deck to deck, now you got to respect his lane.
Skid fin digs in.
Wow, look at the water being thrown up by these two. They're about deck to deck. Steve David may come off the corners a little bit, but you can't compare the shoot speed with these two here.
The drag race back to turn one. On board with Villwock. And Dave basically makes their propellers, right?
Dave's one of the best when it comes to a propeller manufacturer. And yes.
And how important is that propeller?
It doesn't get any more important than that.
New leader. Dave Villwock takes the lead away from Steve David, but David still has that inside lane.
That race course starting to get a little bit rough now, Bill. I don't think it's doing too bad down the straightaways, but the corners are starting to rough up.
It's a 7-boat final, drop back a little bit to the field. Brian Perkins has made it around. Scott Liddicoat, Brian in the 21, driving for Greg and Brian O'Farrell. Boy, that boat's a little light on the front, too.
It is a little light, but a great boat ride.
But this is a little earlier that wasn't so great.
Wow, that was close.
How did he get that turn back to the right?
I don't know, Bill. It's very difficult. As we mentioned before, this is not hydraulic steering or power steering. This is all mechanical.
And what is this?
Another great shot, Bill, of Jeff Bernard inside the cockpit here. You can watch him work those pedals. As soon as you get into the turn, that foot is on the middle pedal, which will bring the front of that wing, the leading edge of that wing up, and it'll pack as much air as they can underneath the hull. Now, when Jeff starts to go back down there straightaway, there's a lot of finesse as to when you need to start putting the boat back on the water. So that left foot is operating the wing. That leading edge is going all the way down. The trailing edge is coming up. Just like an airplane, he's trying to put it back on the water.
That's amazing. Good stuff. Whoa, Villwock lifting that right sponson out of the water, but stretching the lead on Steve David.
Great boat ride here, Bill. The water's not that bad down in this turn, and especially if you're out front, you're,
whoa! Did you duck when that happened?
I almost got hit. What was that?
The cowling left. Is that going to affect the aerodynamics at all?
No, Bill, not with the cowling coming off with just a half a lap left here, but look at that rear wing. It's damaged as well.
Yeah, the cowling damaged the wing, but fortunately it left the camera. We appreciate that. Dave Villwock heading for career win number 64. Big lead on Steve David, and Villwock takes the checkered flag here in Tri-Cities. Steve David grabs second. Kip Brown with a really good weekend for Kip and his uncle Nate Brown. They finished third in the final. Right behind him, Jeff Bernard and J. Michael Kelly in a battle for position. And Bernard's going to get it. Comes home fourth. J. Michael Kelly fifth. Sixth to Scott Liddycoat. And seventh to Brian Perkins. Well, another successful weekend for Dave Villwock and the Spirit of Qatar team. They are headed to Victory Circle to celebrate here in Tri-Cities. We'll hear from the winner when we come back.
This is an infomercial. We're selling freedom. We're advertising honor. The offer is for a new life. Visit us now and receive more than you ever bargained for. The Air Guard. Battlefield Airmen.
Walking my way. It's just how I want to do it. Changing up my mind. It's just how we're gonna do it.
Turn your world upside down with Gillette Fusion Pro Glide, because you can shave against the grain with comfort. Fusion Pro Glide's microcomb guides hair for its thinner blades to cut close effortlessly. Get against the grain closeness comfortably with Gillette Fusion Pro Glide.
If you're gonna build a fuel-efficient car, the first thing you gotta do is make a car that's worth building, that has all the luxury you'd expect. Then you put in an 8-speed transmission that gets 31 miles per gallon. That combination of luxury and efficiency only comes from one place in the world. Now lease the all-new 2011 Chrysler 300 for $339 a month for well-qualified lessees.
Afghanistan has become one of the most dangerous spots on Earth. The weapon of choice there increasingly is the IED.
We're going out there against something that doesn't have a personality, a soul, and it wants to kill you.
EOD standing by, transmit when ready.
With their top flight passing game, the Arizona State Sun Devils are hot on the trail of their first bowl bid in years. But that trail goes through the Rose Bowl, where the UCLA Bruins are fighting for survival in their division. And there's nothing more dangerous than a cornered animal. Arizona State at UCLA, Saturday at 6:30. Pac-12 football on Versus.
Coverage of the 2011 Air National Guard Hydroplane Series is brought to you by Air National Guard. Visit goang.com to learn more about exciting opportunities in your area. Falcon Sports. Get out and play paintball. Check falconpaintball.com for a field near you. And by Peters & May. For professional management of your worldwide boat transport and logistics, remember Peters & May.
70,000 fans saw a terrific Columbia Cup race. Dave Villwock, the winner, and Mike Allen is down with him on the docks.
Dave, that was an awesome display of pure horsepower. I mean, that was unbelievable, but also the boat had to handle very well in this heat.
Yeah, it really was all about, in this Air National Guard series, it's all about the boat ride, and can the team put together a great boat ride? It's great to have the start and do all of that stuff and have a lane, but in the end, if you haven't got a boat ride, you can't use it. And so we were working all day. We thought we changed wings a couple of times, and we were working on trying to get a boat ride. It'd be really good in the water that would be rough enough. We were working on that in morning testing, and so Eric and the team, they did a great job of putting a boat together that made me look good.
And Dave did a pretty good job driving that boat, too. So he gets 400 points for the win in the final, 300 for Steve David, who had a frustrating weekend that finished pretty well.
Steve, that's a far cry from where you started this weekend.
Yeah, that was a bit of a redemption. I think the old Steve was back. I was just rusting out being in Detroit, I think, in the broken ribs. I was mentally thinking about that, and I shouldn't have. And it became the final of that. I just got to put everything I got into this thing and forget about the issues and just drive this race boat, and almost won the thing. I think, we got some ideas for next weekend to win at Seattle.
Now, here are the driver points after 3 races in the 2011 season. You see Kip Brown is in 4th, but his team is 2nd in points. A very successful start to the season for Kip Brown, his Uncle Nate, and the rest of the Red Dot team.
Yep, you have to be happy with that. That was an awesome weekend for you, and then pulling third in the final, you've got to be thrilled.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled it's over. what a nightmare of a race course there. But the Red Dot boat held together, and we came out with a heat victory in every preliminary, then a third in the final behind the two heavy hitters in the class. I couldn't be happier. I'm proud of my guys. They're happy. It's going to make the drive home real short.
So the celebration begins for Dave Vilwalk and company at the Air National Guard stage. Big weekend for them.
Huge weekend for Vilwalk. Back-to-back wins, and they're also now leading in team and driver points.
Nice finish to a frustrating weekend for Steve David.
Excellent finish for Steve David, who just said, you better watch out come Seattle, because I think he's going to be the boat to beat.
And that's where we're headed, Lake Washington, for race number 4 of the Air National Guard Series. We'll see you next Sunday afternoon from Seattle, Washington. For Mike Allen, Steve Montgomery, and Lindsey Guthrie, I'm Bill Weber. Thanks for having us in for the race, and congratulations to Dave Vilwalk and company, the winners of the Columbia Cup in Tri-Cities, Washington.
On January